Welcome. So in this lesson we're going to look at a second page layout, and we're going to look at how to adapt the first page layout and actually take it even further. Okay, so it's going to be a bit more of an advanced lesson, but you should learn some really good techniques for pretty much creating whatever layout you would like for your design. So we're going to use one more element from the HTML5 catalog, which is the article tag, and we've got two extensions here. So what I'd like, after we finish kind of flushing out this second design, what I'd like for you guys is to improve that layout by adding two more sections or two more kind of dividing areas that include different layouts. So it could be that you have a stack of asides of 5 asides, or maybe it includes having two sections, or whatever kind of layouts you want. But I want to see that kind of that workflow. And then finally, I just want you to complete the layout by adding images, paragraph text, header text, lists, and links to all of the sections of the new page. So let's crack on. Let's show you guys what design we're building today. So as you can see, it's almost identical to the last one. So we're going to use the last one as our template. The only difference here is we've changed the sizing of the width of the aside and the section so that we can include this second aside. Other than that, it's almost identical. So here we go. So just like we were in last lesson, we've got all of the kind of pages logged into this web design project, and we've got open our layout 1 style sheet and our layout 1 HTML page. We're not going to use these, so we're going to create our own. So we need to duplicate these pages. So if we go to File, and what we could do is do Save As. So it should give us the name of this, which is Layout 1 Style Sheet. And I just want to change it. Make sure you're in the right folder. Just change it to say Layout 2. Okay. Make sure it says Cascading Style Sheet File .css, and make sure this part here says .css as well. So there's no problems there. And then you can press Save. Now that's updated that title there, so that's already done. Now let's click on this layout 1 and say File, Save As, and then change this to layout 2.html. Make sure it says hypertext language, which is, I've lost it now, hypertext, there it is, h.html, hypertext. Make sure it's in the right folder and press Save. As you can see, the layout has now been updated. So let's just go back over to here, and let's just make sure that we've got all of the right pages. So we should see a layout 1 and a layout 1 style sheet, layout 2 and a layout 2 style sheet. We do need to update the style sheet inside of our HTML, so just change it from 1 to 2. This will still include all of the same styles, so nothing really would have changed, but because we're templating, we do want to create these files from scratch. Okay, we do need to shut this page, so let's just reload this one, because whatever happens now, this will always load the old page. Okay, so let's go click on this tab, press Run, launch in Chrome, and close the old page. And let's just give it a better name, just so that we know that it is actually loading the correct page. So let's call this one, layout 2. And I should have done this with the last one as well. For some reason I didn't update that. So if you want to go back and correct layout 1, that'd be great. It just makes it a lot easier to read, to make sure you're on the right file. So here we go, we've got the same one. So what I'm about to show you is really simple, okay? And let me go back to the picture. So as you can see, we're just going to add another section or another side bar to it. So we've got, it's kind of like a Facebook layout, if you like. You've got a navigation area here, you've got a navigation and friends area here, and then you've got this where all the posts go in the middle. So if you were looking to do a kind of a Facebook-esque kind of design, this would be almost identical. So we have to change the width of the aside to 20%, and we have to change the width of the section to 60%. So let's do that right now. So change that section to 60%, change the aside to 20%, save all, and let's refresh that page to see what's actually happened. Okay, so nothing's happened. You've still got this same aside, but you've got this whole area now that just kind of needs filling. Well, the best thing about this is all we have to do is grab this first one, Control C to copy, and then after where it says section, we can press Control V, and what you're going to find now is that we have that design. Very, very simple. Within 2 or 3 lines of code, we've actually achieved that design, and that's how easy it is to change. So our mission now is to see what else we can do with layouts. We've kind of put these blocks in place, but what happens if you want 5-a-sides lined up? What happens if you want kind of all kinds of stuff lined up? So what I'm going to do, I know this is the footer, but I'm going to put my next set of asides, or my next section, underneath this. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this side, because it's 20%, how many of those will stack up? So by my reckoning, 5 of them are going to stack up and make a whole. Okay. Now, because they're all green and because there's no border, it's unlikely that you would actually see any different there. So that could be a problem, but we can style that in a second. I just want to show you, by adding these things, you can actually keep building on your page. So now you can see you have this completely different section, all made up completely of sidebars. And say for instance you wanted another footer, you could, and because it's taking the styles that are already built, it's very, very easy. It kind of just takes it and you can use it. And now you have yet another footer. So what else could you do? Another very, very popular design is if you wanted like a third. So you had 3 set up, but they were all identical sizes. So you had the sidebar here which took up a third, the section which took up a third, and this section that took up a third. So let's build that right now. And it's all about changing the settings. Now, because 33.3 recurring doesn't really fit, what I tend to do is I change the sidebar to 33. So 33 times 2 is obviously 66. So then what's the remainder of that? So we need 34 for the section, which gives us our 100, because we're using 2 of them, if you see what I'm saying. Then press go. So now you have yet another design and equal spacings, and it's all kind of being flushed out very, very nice. So this is our mission. So let's try something else. Let's try another section, but let's just do something different. So in a previous lesson we used classes. So if we say class equals and then these 2 speech marks, we can actually define it as something. So one thing we haven't worked out yet is quarters. So let's just call this quarter. So this section here is equal to a quarter. So if I come over to here and I say dot quarter, because the dot is what defines the class, and then just say quarter. Okay. And then we can start building out this particular one. So if I take it from the aside, just change it to 25%, copy that. Okay, just change that to 25%. And just change the colour to something else like brown, nice colour. Now, if we stacked up 4 of them, we'd actually have sections that equal a quarter, wouldn't we? But it just means by adding a class, we could denote that every single time. So let me save that and just see if that worked. So there you go. Now you have your quarters, and it takes on all of this new styling. So you can have one for thirds, you could have one for halves, you could have one for I don't know, fifths, sixths, whatever you want, just by using a class instead inside of your section. Now, the next thing I want to show you guys is how to use articles. Now, articles are generally nested containers. So let me just get rid of this new quarter and let's nest a container. So let's go back to our side. So we're going to say this is, was it 20? And this is 60. I think that was right. Let me just refresh that, make sure it's right. Because what I want to do then is have, inside of this section, I want to have articles. So if it was a Facebook post, for instance, you would have 1 post, 2 posts. And posts are basically articles, okay? So we can come into here, and let me go down a little bit further, and we'll just start the class. Sorry, start the CSS for article. Okay. And we'll style that, but it's a nested style. So what we want to do is put this inside of our section. So we'll grab this, actually I'll leave that there for now, It's just to remind me that I've got to take it out, but we'll leave it there for now. And we'll start an article. And remember, articles can have classes as well. So if you wanted articles to look different, you could do that as well. Okay, so there's our article, open and close. And we can say, right, how wide do you want this? So an article can take up 100% of its container. It can take up 50% of its container. So this is where it becomes brilliant. So let's just do that now. Let's just say this article has a width of 50%. Height, or min height, of 200 pixels. Let me just make that a bit bigger so we can see what's going on. Oh, forgot my semicolon. Background color, let's try and format them all the same so they all look right. Of orange, what color should we have? White. Okay, so we have 50% and it's white and its height is 200. Now, because it's a nested article, this is an article. Because it's an article, it will take up that realm of its kind of container. So 50% only of its container. So we'll click on this and you'll notice that it's 50% of this, not the full thing. So for instance, if I move this article and I put it inside of Control Cut, and we put it inside of the sidebar instead, I'll paste, now it would be 50% of the sidebar. Which, as you can see, that is massively powerful. So if we set that 100%, we know that that would cover 100% of that particular container. So let's do that. Let's say 90, because this is where we can start using padding and stuff and start making it look a little bit more interesting. So we'll say 90% and we'll say padding 20 pixels and margin 20 pixels and border solids red 2 pixels. So this might go over our 100%, so we do have to be quite careful about that. But we can always tweak it. It's not a problem. We might even be able to use percentages for the padding. I'm not sure. Yeah, so it's gone completely over because it's in that one. I don't want that article in there, so let's just cut that out. Let's put the article back in here. Let's reduce that down to about 50%. Save all. Now let's see what happens. So there you go. You've got your articles. 50% is way too small, obviously, because as you build it up, you know, it will grow and it will remain inside of that section. So if it was a Facebook post, for instance, you're probably going to want 70%. And you can test this just to make sure it stays within that container. Oops. There we go. As you get bigger, it works. As it gets smaller, it doesn't cut off until that point there. So it starts to cut off about your phone size. So at that point there, you're probably going to want to say, right, let's get rid of some of this. So if we say padding is 5 pixels, margin is 5 pixels, it's going to make it look a lot better. And it's all a bit of trial and error. And that's why we build out these templates, so that once you work stuff out, you can just drop these into your main design, which is great. So we've got 12 pixels. And another thing you might be wondering is, why am I not using percentages on the actual padding? In actual fact, I'm pretty sure that doesn't work, but let's try it. Let's try it. So let's try 5% of padding. And it did work. So if we use that, we could probably work out that padding left and right is 10% now. This is 70. That brings up to 80. So if we change this, that would make it 90. And what do we need now? We need another 5 to bring it up to 100 in border. And let's just see if this works. If this works, this will be awesome. Don't know if the percentage of the border is going to work. Didn't work. So we might have to leave the pixels for the border, but it looks like the margin and padding will actually work, which will make this a lot easier to kind of get the right sizing. Because we can probably just add another 10% there. and we've got it. Once again, just trial and error until you get it right, until you get all of the spacings exactly the way you want them. If we go 75, it's probably about where I want it. You know, and this is the power of articles, because now, if I wanted to, I could use that article over and over again. So if you wanted to have 2 articles inside that section, as if it was some kind of rolling blog post, you could just grab that article again, and you could paste it. Now the good thing is an article is a nested container. So inside of this article, you can have images, you can have paragraphs, you can have whatever you want. So if I just put this here, you can see that this is now a paragraph tag, and I can style this exactly the same way as I wanted before, which brings me on to your mission. There you go, you've got to grow these sidebars as well. Now, the problem is the sidebars have a minimum height, so as this center container grows, that's why you're getting this kind of gap here. So if it becomes unsightly like so, you are going to need to grow the minimum height. So if we say the minimum height now is 800, and the minimum height for this is 800, that should fix a lot of those problems. Alright. So there's our design. Your next mission then is to build out this design, build out a whole bunch of different elements. If you want to use quarters, if you want to use fifths, if you want to use sixths or whatever, or kind of mix and match them, have a couple of different sections, and then finally add your images, paragraph text, headers, lists and links to each of these sections. And I'll see you in the next video.